Welcome and good morning. It's a privilege. I've been looking forward to this event for a long time. And it's so good to see so many friends from across the country who are involved in youth work, youth services, and so passionate. I'm meeting a bunch of friends that we're thinking out there as you're all coming in, so I really appreciate it. Today we're going to cover a range of things. Yes, we're focused on peer approaches and how we collaborate. I think John's point around collaboration is really, really key. And I'll point you to the work of the Young People's Foundation's Trust that they're doing presentations this afternoon around how we establish local community-based partnerships between youth services, youth workers, young people, funders, lots of partnerships and stakeholders. It's one to watch and to get involved in. So this morning I'm going to give you a bit of an update from NYA and some of the things that we've been focused on. Then I'm really pleased that we've got Leigh NYA from the DCMS, and then it's going to give us an update from DCMS on the youth policy overview. And then we're really into the meat of, well, what is peer challenges, what can peer-to-peer support look like? And we've got two panel sessions with local authorities who have been a part of the pilot and then part of the actual formal rollout of the peer process. And trying to share some of their learning, that knowledge, the benefits. And the most important thing, the one thing I'm epically proud of at NYA is, it might surprise you, but a third of our staff at the NYA are young people. Paid young people as lived experienced experts in what they're doing. Two of them with us today, Charlie and Ivan, who are going to be part of various sessions today, and have been on peer reviews and gone out and looked at local authority provision and spoken to young people locally and stakeholders and really brought richness. I think we're the only peer review programme that has young people embedded in it, and it has transformed, in my view, the way it works. So it's amazing. So, and look, we've got DCSs in the room, we've got new members in the room, we've got lots of ADs, we've got people of Ofsted in the room, we've got Ofsted who are coming through the local authority at the moment. And I'm amazed you, and thank you for prioritising the program this morning. So, NYA, I'm going to run through this fairly swiftly, because most of you know who we are, but we're technically the professional statutory regulatory body for youth work in England. And our kind of goal is just to make sure that the best youth work can happen across the country in as many places and spaces that benefit as many young people as we can. We do that through setting guidance and standards. I'm going to come on a little bit more on that. We provide a lot of quality assurance, and we set youth work qualifications and training frameworks, often referred to as sort of JNC routes into JNC qualifications, and JNC is a really important part of that. And the last thing we do is, not last thing, we do many other things, but we also run the National Youth Sector Advisory Board, which brings together about 30 to 40 stakeholders from across the sector, which includes local government, funders, young people, national charities, regional organisations, to help shape that kind of policy agenda and the priorities. The reality was, when a few years ago when I joined the NYA, the government sort of said, look, there's probably about 30 organisations talking to us, all with their shopping lists of things they want government to do, but they're all 30 different shopping lists, there's no consistency, so we don't know where to start. So the advisory board brings all those together, all those organisations together, and we have some very clear answers. In the last year, we've published a whole suite of new standards, which I sort of often say on stage, the NYA doesn't like telling, no one likes to be told what to do, right? No one likes to get out there and be told what to do. But there are two things that we're now telling people what you should implement, which is the National Safeguarding Standards for Youth Work and the National Practice Standards for Youth Work. It isn't quality, it isn't safe if it doesn't meet those two documents. They've been written by youth workers, they've been road tested, the feedback's been phenomenal. So you can download them on our website, but just encourage all your practitioners, your partners, your voluntary sector, everybody to make sure that they're adopting. And if you wonder how good this stuff is, we've discovered in the last few weeks that Australia had wholesale stolen it. And then literally the typo on the back page has been copied across. And Canada's done the same. So it's clearly really good work, because other countries have gone, well, take that, thanks. I now have to work out how to charge them, but it's probably too late. And then when I've got those private dwellings, you might be surprised at the pandemic, we discovered that quite a lot of practice was taking place in homes, practitioners' homes. Not this is about visiting young people in their homes, this is, hi, I'm Dave, come into my kitchen, let's have a chat, and it frightens the producers for us. So we did a big piece of work with safeguarding specialists, and we have essentially almost banned it, if you like, but the use of private dwellings is not permitted as far as the NYA is concerned. There are some very narrow examples where it can be workable. But that's an issue, then do that. Do put those guidelines. We got the national curriculum, which we published a few years ago, and I think they could just focus on the wheel, focus on 10 strands of the wheel, and this is the the framework which the sectors come together around to articulate, well, how do you design, plan, evaluate, how do we articulate the benefits of youth work? And so, if it's a piece of work trying to tackle the exploitation of young people, that can focus on their identity and their belonging, their health and well-being, particularly if it's gang behaviour and some of the more horrific ends of the system. Economic and financial well-being, if it is, those sort of county lines, etc. Actually, youth work should be creative and fun. Let's never forget that it is. I think my board's stiff at school half the time. Youth work is where they can have a lot of fun. We can use the relationships that we have with young people. It's about developing skills. It's about that health and safe relation. So use the themes of the wheel to articulate the value of your work and plan, evaluate it, and report on it locally. Because if everyone does that, then we can aggregate that nationally to make the argument in the case of youth work much more effectively. And a new tool that is just about to be launched is Youth Work One. I don't know if the colleagues have picked up on Youth Work One, but we heard from practitioners on the ground that they're really busy. Life was really tough. Trying to raise funding, deal with safeguarding inquiries, manage boards, a lot of volunteers involved. And if we could just put all the tools, resources, training, help and advice in one single place that links out to all the myriad of other companies and organisations providing support, wouldn't that be amazing? So we've developed Youth Work One. It's deliberately not in any way branded, so it encourages lots of partners to put their content in. But it's a brand new tool that is now available, and I encourage everyone to go and use it. And use the forums. And actually, if you're here and you've got a challenge or your practitioners have got some questions, you can post in the forum and other youth workers will come and answer and give you advice and guidance and share tools and resources. So Youth Work One is a big thing that we're pushing through this year, I expect. I wanted to touch on a project that we did coming out of the pandemic. Most people were aware, during the pandemic, Leigh NYA literally flipped its business model into pandemic support mode, and we published 14 different versions of COVID guidance and webinars with 10,000 people watching live. We've never had anything quite like it, but this came out of the back of that. It was important to know that the sector was going to change. We lost a quarter of the youth sector due to the pandemic, but it was very voluntary, closed, and people discovered their evenings, quite like not. It's a bit like we started at the gym, and then people were really keen for the first bit, and then don't go back after we got a gap. And so we lost a quarter of the youth sector, but we needed to understand, well, what is it that grassroots frontline projects need? And that includes local authority-led projects, it includes voluntary-led projects, and the support that they need on the ground from infrastructure bodies, like the NYA, but not exclusively, actually. What can UK Youth do? What can George Williams College do? What can YPF Trust, Youth Influence Foundations Trust? What can regional youth work units do? Lots of support, but yes, Youth Work One is to put all that support in one place, but this was a piece of work to kind of look at, well, what are the needs, what are the challenges, and how to help the sector address them. If I leave you with one figure in the back of your brain to go away and worry about, it's what we discovered through that. About 800 youth projects in the country were involved in this big review. It's probably the largest of its type. The average length of funding in the youth sector is 9 months long. And trying to, and 85% of the youth sector today is voluntary, it's run by groups of trustees who are running charities. And 9 months length of funding has proven to be incredibly corrosive to building strong, safe and stable youth services. You can't recruit staff if you can't give them longer term contracts. Staff are constantly jumping between organisations because they need jobs. And employers saying, well, we can't give you more than 6 months. And so the one thing that we can go away and make the biggest difference is to provide that long-term funding. Now, local authorities, will just kind of, we support you wholeheartedly, and we know just how tough the financial situation is in councils. I worked in local authorities 20 odd years, that is horrendous and the hardest it's probably ever been. And so this is not me kind of bashing you, but actually, when you go back, when you're planning, when you're looking at your strategies, doing your medium-term financial plans, when we're looking at the statutory duty change or update, do think about how can you provide as much long-term funding and support, how do you provide the training and support, because it is the one thing that's undermining quality, safeguarding, practice, access for young people. Youth work is about relationships, it's about supporting our young people in their communities, and if workers are constantly chopping and changing around because they don't, they've got to pay their mortgage and feed their families, it's not their fault, it's just undermining what we're trying to achieve. So where we've got that kind of secured services and thinking that's where we see the highest quality, the highest support, it is the biggest thing that we can do. So joining dots does a whole range of things around involving young people, and we changed the NYA as a result of that. We said we needed to embed young people more in what we do, and now 27 young people are on our payroll. And we employ those young people, and we pay them, to be really clear, because we view our young people as professional experts in their lived experience. And I got to say, they've got like PhD levels of expertise in their own lived experience. And I would pay a PhD student or somebody, a researcher, good money if we were doing a project. So we pay our young people in the same way. And it's paid off handsomely. So join the dots said involve more young people. Join the dots said bring the sector together more. And work with government to advocate for the challenges that the sector's facing up and into government. And we've got government here. And we probably talk quite daily, is it? But it's definitely several times a week between our teams. So there's a really good dialogue between local government association, between DCMS and Home Office and Department of Education, Health, etc. So join the and so there's copies of the Join the Dots report at the back. So if you're interested in that, do take it away because there's a lot of really rich information. But 9 months is undermining everything, and that's the thing we've got to change. Tomorrow, we're in King's Cross with the 12 largest funders of the youth sector, where we are explaining all this challenge to them and laying the challenge to them. We've changed how you fund, because the smaller regional funders follow what you do, and if you change what you do, others will follow. So I don't think this is a hard ask of those funders. They get this stuff, they understand it, but tomorrow we're laying it all out. So we're out there pushing the case for further long-term sustainable funding, because we get that, we fix a lot of the challenges the sector faces. So I'm going to touch briefly on the local authority statutory duty. You've probably all had our multiple letters, emails. One person said I've had 5 copies of your thing in the post, or given to me by various stakeholders in the local area. And I kind of go, yes. We work really closely with DCMS on the statutory duty review. It was triggered by work that the NYA sponsored through an APPG inquiry into an all-parliamentary group, where 60 MPs spent nearly a year looking at the state of our youth services about 5.5 years ago, and they concluded that there was a lot of work to do to get youth work back on the agenda, get core funding for those bits and pieces and support. But they also said that the statutory duty was woefully inadequate. In private, they were very scathing about it. And so we've gone from a document that was 3 pages long, was published in 2012, to a now 19-page document, which is far more detailed and actually matches the legislation. The 3-year document was all over the place, it just meandered. It didn't match the legislation. And I know the team at DCMS worked very hard to look at the law and what the map is. It says you must do this, you should do this, and the new guidance as our fallback recommendation. Don't get me wrong, it's far from perfect, because the Education Act is far from perfect, and it's from 1996. And I think we'd all like a lot more in detail in there and a lot more rigour to it. But it's not a new burden on local authorities, it's an existing responsibility, an existing burden, but the new duty guidance comes with our backing. And our thanks to the team at the LGA, anyway in LGA, we thought, I know scrutiny is probably a bit strong, but we fed back, we looked at various drafts. We didn't always agree, but we got to a place where actually we're trying to achieve the best we can within what we've got. And I think that's what we've got in the government document. There are more copies of this at the back as well if you haven't got one. We also produced our toolkits, so I'll come on to that in a second. Because the government published its duty updated guidance last September, and we've been busy ever since. I have to say, lots of people phoning, calling, wanting help and support. About a third of councils have no youth service or grants or anything. About a third have some sort of grant provision. And that's everything from a few £500 grants to a few £100,000 grants. And about a third have what we recognise as professional youth services. Some of you in the room, and it's amazing to see you come together. So, we've had to provide a lot of support into this, and I'm going to come on to the peers. But the duty does talk about the musts. I'm not going to go through this in great detail, but local authorities must understand the needs of what's going on in their local areas. And the 2 things I think to take away from this is it's about 13 to 19-year-olds, and it's about leisure time provision. So this is not about the stuff that's going on in schools. Don't get me wrong, we can collaborate with schools, it's about working with schools and connecting that together, of course. But this is about supporting young people in the 85% of their waking hours when they're not in school. The school holidays, the evenings, the weekends. We've been asking our schools for years now to do so many things in trying to fix society's challenges, and it's just not reasonable, and it's just not practical. And our schools do amazing, and teachers, I understand, they do amazing work. But 85% of their waking hours are I'll enable it soon. Christmas should be on as well. Yeah, so that 85% of their waking hours when they're in the community is where they need support. And the reason the 1319 is important is because I had a phone call from a lawyer from a local authority, who I should remain nameless, who said, we've got loads of Scouts and Girl Guide groups in our area. Every young person who goes to one of them, our duty is met, go away. She was fairly rude, I won't lie. And I had to sort of go, and luckily for us, we've done a national census mapping the youth sector. And through that process, I had live in front of me on the computer the dashboard data. And the Scouts give us their data, and the Girl Guides give us their data. And less than 1% of young people involved in Scouting and Girl Guiding are over the age of 13 in their area. And I was like, you're clearly not meeting it. You can't use that to help you meet your duty. It's amazing stuff, they do great work, but you've got to think wider and broader. Is it affordable? Is it accessible? Is it in the right locations? All those sorts of, does it meet the needs of those young people? And that might be, geography, it might be their culture, it might be their protected characteristics. There's all sorts of elements that have to be considered as part of that needs assessment. The two things I think we've been on our roadshow series pushing hard is youth engagement and voluntary sector engagement. The law says that local authorities have a duty to engage young people. They have a right to be included, to be consulted. And it's a bit broader than just, well, we have a youth council and we've asked their opinion. You've got to go out to the areas based on the needs and ask those young people what they need. And also the voluntary youth sector in the law has a right to be involved and engaged in the same way. And what we're hearing around the country is lots of people going, our council doesn't talk to us. They tend to be in the council have nothing, and it's because there's no mechanism in the council to have that conversation. When we go and chat, ask the question, it's not that they don't want to talk to them, it's just we're still working out what our mechanism might be. So let's give councils some leeway. But the councils have to talk to the voluntary sector, and should, because they're out there doing the work, they are helping. There is a world in which the local authority's duty could be entirely met by third sector providers who are well funded and organised and delivering in all the right places. And council could very legitimately say, we don't need to do this, it's being done. There isn't a place in the country where that exists, sadly, but that could be a place. Local authorities publish or come up with their local youth offer. So what is the response to those needs? Where do you need provision? What time of day? What type of provision? What type of staffing do we need to deliver to meet those needs? And publish that as part of a local offer so young people can find it. It's not good enough to have this buried on the back of the website. Young people have got to be able to find that provision. They've got to know it's there. They've got to be able to feed in if they don't think their needs are being met. So hang on a minute, excuse me, my little village or town hasn't got anything, what's available. And there is the thing called sufficiency. So what is sufficient? But doing nothing is insufficient. So unfortunately for those third councils that are doing nothing, I'm asking the question, what can we help you? How can we support you? Because you can't be doing nothing. You can charge for some provision, it's desirable, but you can. So doing something is always possible. And put it all into a local offer plan. As NYA, the workforce body, we built into the toolkit. Local authorities need to think about, well, how are we going to staff this offer? Who's going to deliver it? Are we providing the right training and support? And I'll come back to my safeguarding concerns, not about private dwellings as such, but what we also discovered through the pandemic was a lot of the voluntary sector has struggled to access safeguarding support. LACO is like the point of last resort, but lots of bits in between. And when I was helping youth services, we had lots of support for the voluntary sector that has just sort of been declined. But actually there are other legal duties around safeguarding and support for the voluntary sector and other community partnerships. So do think about, well, how are the skills of the workers that are going to need to deliver this? So we've got the right colleagues with level 2, 3, or JNC professional degree qualified, etc. We're doing a lot of work around workforce reform that we'll probably invite you back next year to talk about, but there's a lot in that space that we're pivoting much of NYA for the next 12 months. The curriculum I touched on, and safeguarding I sort of touched on, but the last one is around monitoring and evaluation. How do we know this offer is meeting that need? How do we know it's the right stuff in the right place and it's working? So we need to go through that cycle and support young people to have their voice, to look at their effectiveness of what we're doing. There's stuff that we'll be coming up with, and George Williams has been doing stuff around the impact measurement of youth work. Their stuff is very academic, our stuff is a little more practical. I think somewhere between the two, there'll be the right solutions to support most types of youth work provision. And one of the questions that I think we had with the government on this was, well, how regularly should we go through this cycle? And we all fell down on, well, the medium-term financial planning cycle of local authority is how most things are prepared for planning. It's an actual sort of 3-year cycle. Now, I know most councils at the moment are pumping from year to year to year. That's very difficult. So, again, that's just the context of it. It needs to improve. Trust me, we've spoken to them about that many times. In a minute, colleagues are going to come and talk about the peer review programme and the support that's been provided through that programme. But I just want to touch on, NYA provides a range of things that can support you and your partnerships, your networks, your voluntary sector around professional practice and the quality of your work. So we offer a full service review programme. This is currently, we've just done Blackpool, we're currently in Liverpool. These are big, they can be scaled, but they're quite large scale reviews. We've spoken in Liverpool, we've had responses from 20% of the youth population in Liverpool to find out what they want, where they need it, help them write their needs assessment, put up their strategy, put all that stuff together. So you can always call NYA if you're interested, if you need additional support and advice. I'm not here to sell anything, I'm just saying it's something that some people need and want, and we're able to assist with. We have a kite mark, a national quality mark, and that is a Laura here, who runs all that. It's a tool that's got 3 sets of standards. Is it youth work? What's the youth work practice? How is it benefiting young people? And how's it leadership management? How's it led? That looks at your safety and all that stuff. But the quality mark is there to actually go and benchmark the quality of what's going on. And what we've seen is we give grants to lots of organisations year on year, but we don't actually know if it's making any difference. We don't actually know if it's good practice. The quality mark is there. There's a version of the quality mark which is just a self-assessment. People just download for free and do the self-assessment. And if that's all you use to make a judgment, then we've done our job at NYA. If you want the full kite mark and the back-in reception, then speak to Laura and we'll come and help. The peer review programme, I won't steal my thunder with my colleagues because they're going to go into that in detail. And then we offer other bespoke stuff. So we offer a lot of training. The National Youth Work Academy is the largest training academy in the country. It's training lots of local authorities. And in that space, local authorities think about your apprenticeship levy. So we now have level 3 youth work apprenticeships, and we have level 6 youth work apprenticeships. And most local authorities have got big underspends on their use of their apprenticeship levy. And today you can spend 25% of your levy on your voluntary, other companies outside the council. The government announced Monday, they're going to increase that to 50% of your levy could be used in other organisations. So you can utilise your levy funding to support your voluntary sector to get those skills and to get that expertise. We also have bursaries that the DCMS has been funding, they just top that up. So thank you very much. It's funding hundreds and hundreds of level 2 and level 3 training places across the country, plus level 4 CPD, safeguarding training, risk management training, there's loads of it. So if you need help and support, I just get in touch with us and then we'll have a conversation and see what we